Hello everyone and welcome to this video where I'm super happy to present to you pretty much the final version of not one but two locomotives. Now if you've been following my Discord server or looking at my YouTube sort of community engagement posts, you may have noticed that I've developed a second smaller locomotive to facilitate the bigger one. I used the technology that was developed for the bigger one and sort of implemented it into another format. So I'm going to be showcasing you what these look like, how they perform, how they behave, and all that good stuff. In addition to these locomotives, there's also the Buckle Howdy, unreleased at this time in ALTA version. It's kind of like a crew cab ALTA version of the truck. Very useful for small operations. And of course, with these locomotives comes something that I've never had before. And that's pretty much a knowledge of trains that I've just never had, never appreciated, and I can really thank the community. Everybody has been super helpful. I've been receiving tons of information, and I did try to make it quite clear from the get-go that these were not going to be utilizing realistic systems, but rather be inspired by realistic systems and then built from the ground up with sort of my interpretation of them. So this is hopefully supposed to get a little bit of a simpler interface than what you may be used to for locomotives, and that's purely fully intentional. So I've been learning a ton about trains thanks to the community, and what I have to say is that this one here is going to be called the GTC L400 BS. The BS is not what you think it stands for. It stands for the configuration, and it stands for the cab type. So the B refers to the axles. This is something I learned. B means it has two axles sort of in the front and back, or two times. It's a BB interface or BB configuration. So that's what you get here, BB. And the BS, the S part, stands for standard cab. So here you could see this cab shape is what we call, or what is called, a standard cab. I did not know that before. And then this one is called the CW. CW because it has 3 axles per sort of front and rear, so CC. And then this is the wide cab. You could see the difference, the wide cab and the standard cab. So these are differences that I never really appreciated before, and now I can. And while they do share the similar or same technology, the interiors are fully different. Now, the one interior that you guys have been seeing in my videos is the wide cab interface. So we do have this little kitchenette area down here, and there's a seating area, a washroom, and if you head up the stairs here, you get this little cabin with the engineer's seat, the conductor's seat, and all the bells and whistles that you notice up here. In the other one now, it is going to be different. Also back here we have a little bunk room, stateroom, whatever you want to call it, and then back here, engine room, and then back here we have this little maintenance room, or maintenance shed. So there is a lot of areas in this one, and you could just see from the video, or from the aerial view here, how much larger it is than the BS configuration. So the BS configuration again has less wheels, and it has the standard cab. Now I do love how that front turned out. It looks very sharp and modern, and I've taken inspiration from some of the Art Deco locomotives of the 1950s and even before that, and you may have noticed this sort of sharp angle as well is repeated on the ALTA tanker, so it's used in other ALTA locations. Now what you get here on the front of this is this standard cabin and or standard nose. Here you get some gear, so good if you are traveling. And then you could head over here where there's a door, and you walk up into the cabin itself. And if you turn on the light just to get an idea, you could see you could step down here into this little nose cone, and there's a storage with even more equipment. There's a washroom here, and then back here there is an actual kitchenette. So there is no stateroom, no bedroom, you just get this sort of kitchenette area here. And then the conductor has these handles to use. Could press the signal switch button here, can have a seat here, if not standing at the handles, and then the engineer gets this nice L-shaped desk. And if we turn the displays on, you'll see that there is sort of an entirely different configuration that you notice in this locomotive. The radio's here, the autopilot's here, and of course when you have the display, it's there, giving you that really classic window shape that you notice. I have to paint that block, but the window shape that you notice on these standard nose cone configuration locomotives. Of course, because it is shorter also, it has the same engine room, but it does not have that little maintenance shed room. Instead, you get some engine hatches, and then back here you still get some equipment. So it does have that, and then down here you can actually walk around to this area. It doesn't have that little bump out. So little differences all throughout. The biggest one being the fact that because it has less axles, it obviously has less of a towing capacity because not as much power is getting into the ground or into the rails. That, of course, converts itself into the speed at which it could tow the block or the brick, but you'll notice that even still it can tow it at fairly reasonable speeds. Also, this desk does rotate, so you can position yourself forward or sideways however you like. But the point is, now if we give power, it does not pick up the same amount of speed as the CW configuration, but it does get up to a decent speed even still, and it is the right speed benchmarked for this load which we are towing. So you can see here we've picked up some speed, and I think it tops out at around 55 or so, 60 kilometers an hour with this load. Now, I did give all the features of the shunting, I've given all the features of the master-slave system, and of course all this sort of autopilot controls are now here because they're not with the conductor as they were previously. You do still get the Moody lamp, you still get all the systems that you may expect, and some other things that I've done in the latest version of the train microcontroller is I've actually made the emergency brake toggleable from the rolling stock, assuming it's my rolling stock, or if you have locomotive slave to the main one, you can also toggle the emergency stop and it will stop the whole train. It's not just going to turn on the one locomotive's brakes. So if you are jumping between various train cars, you can actually trigger the full locomotive stop from any one of these emergency brakes. You can also use the L400BS for pairing up with other types of locomotives, meaning other type of my locomotives. So in this case, it actually started up the CW behind us. Now, when you have two different locomotive powers or two different types of locomotives, you may inadvertently cause the weaker one to slip just because the faster, stronger one may overpower it. You can see how it looks on the exterior view here with the smaller one in the front and the bigger one in the rear. Of course, the more power, the more axles here may cause this first one to experience some slippage, but the fact is you still could pair them up and run them simultaneously. Now, if I do run over into the other locomotive behind us, we are going to be able to trigger the emergency stop on the full train, including here. So you can see that these brakes are now fully activated. We're getting one, and these ones here are also fully activated. We are getting one. If I could just get it to show. There you go. So the full thing is activated, and what is done is now there's a little bit of a way to find out which train or locomotive or rolling stock caused your emergency stop. So you can see here the light is not flashing on the roof of the cab there, but the one that did cause the emergency stop, it gets this flashing light. Now this is the same flashing light that goes on for shunting mode, except shunting mode it has 2 flashes and then off, 2 flashes and then off. Here it's just constant on off. Regardless if it is flashing and your train stopped, you're going to know which one caused the stoppage, so you can go and turn off the emergency brake within that locomotive. You don't have to search every single button in your whole configuration. You could see exactly where it was. So if you're playing online with your friends and someone accidentally triggers the emergency brake, you can quite easily come across to it and turn it off, at which point your locomotives should hit the road again, unless you dethrottled inside the main master locomotive. So that's pretty much it. I'm super excited for the release of these locomotives. I really did enjoy building them. I enjoyed learning all about locomotives, or learning, scratching the surface of the knowledge that exists on locomotives, but even still, it was super enjoyable and fun. Before I sign off and let everyone go, there is a bonus content that I want to showcase here. This was sort of leaked on my Discord server first, and now here is the first glimpse at what it is. So, as you may tell, it is a fishing trawler. We know the major fishing update's going to come out, so this is my first attempt at a very small trawler. It is going to go under the flag of OMA, and they're supposed to be doing kind of fishing, testing the fish and all kinds of stuff, but of course you could use it for actual trawling. What is cool is this hull has been only released or only made for a couple hours. I made it today, so there is a lot of progress still needed. You can see it is very top heavy. There is only one microcontroller, and that's to run the engines, and otherwise it needs balancing, it needs microcontrollers, it needs all kinds of stuff. But what I wanted to do is showcase to you exactly what I've been working on, because this is going to be a big thing once it hits the once the update hits. So I did want to show that, but also to show you exactly what a creation looks like when it is still a huge work in progress. Again, this is purely a dumb model that has very much nothing inside it. There is sort of a general layout right now, so first glimpse of that, and then here is where there's going to have to be a crane, and this is where you sit and operate your crane and deposit it into the hoppers there. So really love the shape of this boat. Hopefully if and when I can balance it, which I'm planning on doing, then I'm going to be able to release other versions of it for OMA, including maybe a submersible version or ROV version and all kinds of good stuff. But for now, this is a fishing trawler, as you could tell. So stay tuned for more content, stay tuned for more creations. Also, my search and rescue catamaran came out today, and otherwise, happy Stormworksing, everyone.